Hello, first and second graders. Welcome back to Sunday School. I'm Miss Jill, and today we are going to do Lesson 5. So you may want to get out your papers. You have a paper that looks like this that says Lesson 5 at the top. We're going to be using that. And let's see, there's a booklet that's titled Friends. And we're just going to let you do that after class for fun. It has a lot of fun activities in it. On the back, I think you'll really like that one. Matching the different items to the different people. That looks like fun. Okay, so we're going to get started. And I'll hold up what you need, okay? So today, we're going to go over this Bible verse. See if you can say it with me. There is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Proverbs 18:24. If you're having trouble seeing that, it's also on your friend's paper at the bottom, down here, if you need to look at it there. Okay? There is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Proverbs 18:24. Can you say that with me? Let's try it one more time. There is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Proverbs 18:24. Good job. Okay, well, we're going to talk about friends today. Okay, you'll hear that word come up quite a bit. Can you think about what is a friend? Think about the people that you call friends. Why are they your friends? What is it about them that makes them a friend? Is it someone who really cares about you and you really care about them? Is it someone who isn't selfish and is fun to be with? What are your friends like? What do you think makes a good friend? A good friend is someone who helps you, someone who has things in common with you. A good friend takes time for you and you take time for them. Let's look and see what the dictionary says a friend is. Let's see if I can hold this up here. Well, maybe I'll hold it a little closer for you. Okay, can you see the definition? A friend is a person attached to another by feelings of affection or personal regard. A person whom one knows, likes, and trusts. So hopefully you have some friends like that, and hopefully you are a friend like that. And we're going to learn in our Bible today about two very special friends. You may have heard of them. We are still in the book of 1 Samuel. We're on chapter 20, so I have my Bible here. I'm going to open it to chapter 20, and we're going to refer to some of the verses in that today. Okay? We're going to learn about two friends named David and Jonathan. Now let's see if you can remember the things we've learned about the past few weeks. Saul is somebody we learned about. Who is he? He is the king of Israel, and he disobeyed God. We learned about David, who trusted God and was a shepherd. We learned that David had fought Goliath. And we also learned how Saul brought David to live at the palace and play music for him. And Saul was jealous of David. Okay? King Saul had several sons, and one of them's name was Jonathan. David and Jonathan got to be friends while David was living at the palace. They became very good friends. In fact, I have a picture for you. This is a picture of David and Jonathan. And it shows Jonathan giving David a robe. And that was one way in which they showed friendship back then. If somebody gave you a robe, it was a sign of friendship. Okay, so it says Jonathan gave David his robe as a sign of friendship. Later, he helped David escape from his father, King Saul, proving that he was his best friend and an unselfish friend. Okay, I'm going to put that up here right behind me so you can look at that during our story. Okay, now I want you to open your book. The one that looks like this. It has KC at the front. We're not going to read that story. We're going to open it up and we're going to read about David and Jonathan. So can you open up your paper from home? And if you don't have it, I'll be holding it close so you can see the pictures as I read it to you. Okay. Can you see that pretty good? Jonathan, said David, what have I done? Why is your father trying to kill me? Jonathan looked surprised. David, what are you talking about? My father is the king. Why would he want to kill you? I don't know why, answered David, but he has tried many times. David, I know my father wouldn't try to hurt you, said Jonathan. He tells me everything. If he was mad at you, he would tell me. Not this time, said David. Your father knows that we are best friends. Jonathan looked down, thinking. Then he looked up at David. What do you want me to do for you? Here's my plan, said David. Tomorrow, I'm supposed to sit with the king at the big feast. But instead of going to the feast, I will hide in the field. If your father misses me, tell him I've gone to visit my family. If he gets mad, then you'll know he planned to kill me. We'll have to keep this a secret, said Jonathan. Let's do this. After the feast, I'll come to the field with a servant. I'll pretend to practice shooting arrows. If it's safe for you to come back, I'll tell the servant to look for the arrows nearby. But if it's not safe, I'll tell the servant to look for the arrows past the big rock. Okay. Let's turn the page. Okay, so you can see that part of it now. Okay. That's a good plan, said David. But David, said Jonathan, promise me that no matter what happens, you'll always be kind to my family. You're my best friend, said David. I promise. At the feast, King Saul missed David. Saul asked his son, why hasn't David come to the feast? He wanted to spend the feast with his family, Jonathan answered. King Saul blew up in anger. You have taken sides with David against me. Don't you know he is our enemy? As long as David lives, you will never be king. David must die. But why? Asked Jonathan. What has he done? The king was so mad, he grabbed his spear and he threw it at Jonathan, but it missed. Jonathan quickly left. The next morning, Jonathan went to the field. He felt very sad as he shot the arrows. Jonathan called loudly to his servant. The arrows went past the rock. The servant got the arrows, and Jonathan sent him back to town. David came out of hiding. David and Jonathan hugged and cried. It's not safe for you to stay here, said Jonathan, but go in peace, because we have sworn, and then it has some blanks, so we need to look that up. It says we have sworn blank with each other in the name of the blank. Read 1 Samuel 20:42. Let's do that. So we're going to get out our Bible. We're going to read 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 42. Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, for we have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, 'The Lord is witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever.'" Then David left, and Jonathan went back to the town. Okay, so let's go back to our story. Okay, and let's see if we can fill in that blank. So it says, "Go in peace, because we have sworn blank." Did you pick up on what it said in the Bible? It said we have sworn friendship. So that's your first answer. You want to write in right there. We have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord. So the second blank would be Lord. The first one is friendship. The second one is Lord. Okay. We have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord. And our last sentence says, "Then Jonathan went back to town and David left the area." Okay. So we have some questions to go over about that story. We'll see if you understood most of it. Let me hold these questions up for you so that you can see them. Did Saul want to kill David? How do you know? Yes, Saul did want to kill David. He got so angry that David missed the feast, he yelled at Jonathan that David needed to die. And Saul got so angry about it, he threw his spear at his son Jonathan. Do you believe that? Wow, that surprised me. Let's look at question number 2. Why hadn't King Saul told his son Jonathan that he wanted to kill David? Let's read it again. Why hadn't King Saul told his son Jonathan that he wanted to kill David? Well, I don't know about you, but I think that he knew since Jonathan and David were such good friends, that if he had told Jonathan, he knew Jonathan would tell David, okay? And he would help David to escape. And normally back in those times, when a king when his time ended being king, it passed on to his son who was next in line, like his firstborn son. So Jonathan was who Saul thought should be king, but God had chosen David, and Jonathan understood that, and Jonathan was okay with that, but Saul wasn't. He wanted his son Jonathan to be the next king. Okay. So, what did Jonathan agree to do for David? Well, Jonathan agreed to put together a plan that would help him find out if his father really wanted to kill David. And he also said that he would help David if it was true that Saul wanted to kill him. Okay. Why do you think David and Jonathan made a secret plan? Why do you think he told David to go hide behind some rocks and he would shoot some arrows and have a young boy go pick up the arrows? And depending on what he said, that either meant that David was safe or David was in trouble and Saul was trying to kill him and he should leave. Okay, so they had this secret plan that whatever Jonathan said to the little boy about picking up the arrows, that would be the secret clue to David on whether he should stay or leave. Well, we heard in the story that what he ended up telling David was, you're in trouble. My father wants to kill you. That's what the secret message was. He was like, you're right, you better leave because you are not safe. So what unselfish friendship promises did David and Jonathan make? Okay, they made some promises to each other at the end of our story. David promised to always be kind to Jonathan's family, even though Jonathan's father was trying to hurt him. They promised to always be friends in the name of the Lord. Okay? They promised each other they would always be friends in the name of the Lord. Let's see. I think I missed one. Why do you think Jonathan was so unselfish? Why do you think Jonathan was so unselfish? Do you think it was because he was such good friends with David? He loved David. David was his friend and he didn't want to see him get hurt. So Jonathan was very unselfish and he believed that David was going to be the next king, not him. And he wanted to help David out. I think Jonathan and David both trusted God's plan. Let's look at our Bible verse again before the final question. There is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. There is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Proverbs 18:24. So our last question says, how does our Bible story and this verse help us know what a friend is? Okay, so how does this verse, there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother, along with the story we read today, how does that help us to know what a friend is? Well, they showed us what friends do. They protected each other and they cared for each other. They helped each other. Okay? And that's what friends do for each other. Okay. Let's see what we have next. On the back of your page that we just read, where we filled in the blanks, turn to friendly talk. Okay, this will be our last activity for today. Friendly talk. David and Jonathan were best friends. Draw a speech balloon around each sentence. Make it point to the friend who might have said it. One is done for you. So for example, this one is circled and it said, I needed a friend who would help me get away from an angry king. And it points to David. Let's see if we can figure out who these other sayings would come from. So let's start with number 1. My best friend knew it was wrong for his father to hate me. Who knew it was wrong for his father to hate him? Jonathan, because the king was Jonathan's father. So we want to draw a line down to Jonathan with that one. Okay. Number 2, some people kill with arrows. I made a plan to save my friend's life with them. Oh, who was it that made that plan about shooting arrows and what it would mean when he said things about how to pick them up? That also was Jonathan. So that number 2 also points down to Jonathan. Number 3, I did not want to go away, but my friend knew what was best for me. I did not want to go away, but my friend knew what was best for me. Well, that's David. David was the one that had to go away, even though he didn't want to. Skip down to number 5. I knew it was God's plan for my friend to be the next king. Who was it that trusted in God's plan that his friend would be the king? Jonathan. So that one goes down to Jonathan. And number 6, I was sad to see my friend go away, but we promised to always be friends. Also, Jonathan, right? He was sad to see his friend go away, but he promised to always be friends. Okay, good job with that. Let's take a moment and talk about what kind of friends we should be. How can we be unselfish friends? Okay. We saw in our story that Jonathan was an unselfish friend. He didn't think about himself. He cared more about his friend David, and he wanted to protect him. So ways you can be unselfish is to think about what your friends need or want. You maybe don't get angry over the little things. You forgive your friends. You may pick special ways to show your friends that you care. You could let your friend go first when you're playing a game. Okay, we want to make our friendships better and more fun and pleasing to God by being unselfish. Let's close in prayer. Take a hand, give a little clap. Take a hand, and fold them just like that. Dear God, thank you for this story about David and Jonathan. Thank you that Jonathan was an unselfish friend who protected his friend David and let him know to safely leave the area so that King Saul wouldn't kill him. Lord, thank you for our friends. We think of our friends now and name them in our heads. Thank you for those special friendships. Help us to be an unselfish friend to our friends. And Lord, we pray for our friends and the needs they have. Amen. Thanks for joining me for Sunday School. I will see you next week. Oh, one more thing before I sign off. In your discovery pack, you have an activity to do today. These are things you can cut out and tape to a pencil and give them as gifts to your friends. So if you want to make some little gifts for your friends, this would be the page to use. Have fun with that. See you next week. Bye.